The rain had just stopped, leaving the road shimmering under the dim light of a flickering street lamp. A single dad named Ethan knelt beside a broken-down car on the side of the road, his hands smeared with grease, his breath misting in the cool evening air. Inside the car sat a woman, stranded, frustrated, and on the verge of tears. Ethan didn't know her name, didn't ask. He just saw someone in trouble, and his heart, tired as it was from years of struggle, couldn't ignore it. He had no idea that this one small act of kindness would change everything, and that by tomorrow, that same woman would come back into his life with an offer that would test everything he thought he knew about worth, love, and second chances. Ethan's life had never been easy. As a single dad to his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, every day was a balancing act between bills, work, and bedtime stories. He worked at a small repair shop during the day and took odd jobs at night, often returning home to find Lily asleep on the couch, a picture book open beside her. That evening, he was heading home after fixing an old neighbor's lawn mower when he noticed the car by the roadside, hazard lights blinking, a woman standing helplessly beside it. Her name was Claire, though Ethan didn't know that yet. She was dressed in a crisp white blouse and tailored skirt, the kind that screamed city life. Her phone had no signal, her tire was flat, and her spare was missing. Ethan slowed down, debating for a moment whether to stop. He was exhausted, hungry, and had promised Lily he'd be home for dinner. But something in the woman's face, a quiet panic, a loneliness he understood all too well, made him pull over and need some help, he asked gently, pulling his old toolbox from the back of his truck. She hesitated, glancing at his worn clothes and grease-streaked hands, then nodded. In 20 minutes, the tire was replaced, the engine was checked, and the car was ready to go. She offered him money, but he shook his head. "Don't worry about it," he said with a tired smile. "Just be safe out there." She looked at him, a little surprised. "You're not even going to tell me your name?" He shrugged. "Doesn't matter. You needed help. That's all." And with that, he climbed back into his truck and drove away, never imagining that she'd remember every detail of that moment, the sincerity in his voice, the simplicity of his kindness. That night, as Ethan tucked Lily into bed, she asked the same question she always did, "Daddy, when will things get better?" He smiled faintly, brushing her hair from her face. "Someday soon, sweetheart. Someday soon." He didn't realize that someday would begin the very next morning. When Ethan arrived at the auto shop the next day, his boss, a gruff man named Carl, was already in a mood. "We've got a visitor," Carl muttered, jerking his thumb toward the waiting area. "She's asking for you." Ethan wiped his hands on a rag and walked out front and froze. It was her. The woman from last night. But she looked different now, confident, composed, carrying a leather folder in her hand. "Morning," she said, smiling warmly. "I was hoping I'd find you here." Ethan blinked. You found me." "I did." She stepped closer. "I didn't get to thank you properly last night. You didn't just fix my car, you saved me from a lot of trouble. I was on my way back from a business trip, miles from home. And I've been thinking about what you said, that it didn't matter. But it does." He shifted uncomfortably. "You really don't owe me anything, miss. I just did what anyone would have done." She tilted her head, studying him. "No," she said softly. "Not everyone would have stopped." After a pause, she handed him a business card. "My name's Claire Donovan. I own Donovan Motors." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. Donovan Motors was one of the largest auto companies in the region. "Wait, you're that Donovan?" She smiled faintly. "Guilty. And I have an offer for you." He frowned. "An offer?" "Yes. You see, I've been searching for someone honest, hard-working, who doesn't see every favor as a transaction. My company's opening a new division for community repair programs, helping those who can't afford basic maintenance. I want you to lead it." Ethan stared, speechless. "Ma'am, I'm just a small-town mechanic. I'm not qualified for something like that." She smiled again, but this time her eyes softened. "You're exactly what this program needs, Ethan. Heart." He hesitated, thinking of Lily, of their small apartment, of the stack of unpaid bills. It felt too good to be true. "Why me?" he whispered, Because when no one was watching, you did the right thing, she replied simply. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, slowly, Ethan nodded. All right. I'll hear you out. Weeks passed, and what began as a hesitant partnership became something deeper. Claire worked alongside him, visiting community garages, watching how he treated people with patience, respect, and quiet strength. He reminded her of everything money couldn't buy, everything success had made her forget. And for Ethan, she was a light he didn't know he'd been missing, someone who believed in him when he didn't believe in himself, but not everyone supported the idea. Claire's board accused her of being too emotional, of making a charity project out of a stranger. Rumors spread, and soon, her reputation was on the line. She was faced with a choice: pull the program or stand by Ethan. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Ethan found her sitting alone in the empty garage, tears in her eyes. Maybe they're right, she whispered. Maybe I made a mistake. He stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. You didn't. You saw something good and tried to build on it. Don't let them take that away. She looked up at him, her heart twisting. Why do you still believe in me? Because you believed in me first, he said. That night, Claire made her decision. She walked into the boardroom the next morning, handed in her resignation, and walked out with her head high. She'd lost her company, but she'd found something she didn't even know she needed: a purpose, and someone to share it with. Months later, Donovan Community Auto opened under a new name, Lily's Garage. It was a small place, filled with laughter, warmth, and second chances. Claire and Ethan ran it together, not as boss and employee, but as partners. And one evening, as they watched Lily paint a sign that read "Helping Hands Fix Hearts Too," Claire turned to Ethan and whispered, "You really had no expectations that night, did you?" He smiled softly. None at all. Just hope. She took his hand, squeezing it gently. Well, she said with a smile that reached her eyes, sometimes hope is all it takes to change two lives forever. And in that quiet little garage, surrounded by the hum of life beginning again, Ethan finally realized that the kindness you give freely has a way of finding its way back when you least expect it, and when you need it most.